everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Pixel Trash Podcast. I'm your host, Vijay Preziosi, and joining me this time around is my buddy, Dan Caprio. Dan is a very good friend of mine. I've known him for years. We've done a million shows, a million mics together, and when this podcast goes live, Dan will be recording his 1-hour comedy special, Otterly Ridiculous. And I can guarantee it is probably going to live up to its name because he is an utterly ridiculous dude. And I can't wait to see him do this. It's going to be a really good time. I wanted this episode to be up as soon as possible, so the editing might not be the greatest, but whatever. This was a fun episode. We started off with a lot of about him, and then we quickly segue into a lot of talk about horror movies. So if you're into horror movies, this is the podcast to look at. So I'm going to show a clip of Dan's stand-up, and then we're going to get straight into the podcast.
Guys, again, I'll come back to these troubled times. Has everyone in here gotten their Gwyneth Paltrow vagina-scented candle yet? That's the big question I want answered. Price of pussy going up. These candles are at fire prices. I just bought a dozen of them online. A dozen, guys, because if you buy 12, you get the 13th for free. It's an amazing deal on pussy. But the Gwyneth Paltrow vagina-scented candle, though, guys, the big question that I have is, what vagina are we talking about? Is it the stock vagina, middle-of-the-road kind of vagina? Is it the, I just ran 15 miles, now I'm at home scented candle? Or is it the, I was just at my side guy's house, now I'm here at your house, scented candle? I don't like that candle. I don't light it in my house. Get that fucking candle out of here. Had too many candles like that in my life. Not one more.
But all right, joining me is Daniel Caprio.
Hello.
Hello, Daniel. So, how do you feel, buddy? This is the last day before he films his 1-hour special, right? It's going to be an hour?
Utterly Ridiculous.
Utterly Ridiculous. And I am utterly showing my support right now with this obnoxious shirt.
Thank you.
So,
I didn't expect that.
What I wanted to ask you is, walk me through the process of how you've been getting ready for this, between looking for a venue and just prepping your fucking everything, your material, your brain, your fucking attitude. Walk me through that. What has that been like?
It's been difficult, mostly because it was supposed to be at a different venue. The original plan, I chose it back in November of last year. Was supposed to be the Brighton Bar down in Long Branch. Right now, as of right now, the Brighton Bar is closed for possibly permanently.
Yeah, the last great.
We're really in the dark on this. Yeah, but we do know that there have not been any events there since mid-March of this year.
Yeah, that's the last pop punk, just punk venue in the Jersey Shore scene at all, and it's not looking good. So you were originally going to film it there,
yes,
which was a very good place to film it because it had everything already set up for you, basically.
Yeah.
You had a very competent sound guy,
yes,
a great stage, and a venue that is super supportive of just performance art in general, beyond just music and comedy. They were just very supportive of all that, and now it's gone. So what was the process like of trying to find the new venue?
It was tough because I had great shows there in the past, and, you know, they were really supportive of the idea that I wanted to do. Technically they have their own parking lot, but there's a parking lot across the street that we all use. Lots of spaces. It's easy to find.
Very easy to find.
And today is the day that the head count restriction indoors is lifted.
Oh, is it?
So that would mean that, you know, by some miracle, let's say I could sell that place out. That's like standing room only.
Damn.
Potentially a few hundred heads could fit in there.
Right.
Yeah.
So how many venues did you look at before you settled on the one you have now?
Before Brighton or the one I chose?
Before the one you
tomorrow.
chose for tomorrow.
I looked at 6 or 7 places, and when I factored everything in, the venue that I chose, which is Wawa Social Club in North Bergen, which is not close, by the way, to where we are right now filming this, and where I live, even farther away.
Yes.
It is the best choice. They technically have a parking lot, but it's not supposed to be used, and I don't know the parking situation in there. So people are going to have to figure that out tomorrow some way, somehow. But the inside of it, they said that there's a 100-person head count limit, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and the room is a decent size.
It's the biggest place that I found out of all those places I was looking for. It will sound the best when all is said and done. When you factor in using Sean Malloy. I'm still shout out Sean Malloy, the former sound technician of the Brighton Bar. He offered to come there, bring all his equipment. There's wooden floors. It's like there's a lot of nice reverberation. I've helped put on a show there, so I know how it looks on video and audio already. So I already had that in mind, and also how we could set the room up, and how the situation is where if somebody has to go to the bathroom, if somebody needs to get a drink, if somebody needs to exit the venue. This place that I chose is the best one. Other places, you had the line of the bathroom directly parallel to the stage. You may have to curtain off the area. You're going to have to deal with heckling from patrons that are going to be at the place tonight. And I'm like, I don't want to impede on a place's business if I can help it. Too. And there's things that you can't. You cannot control certain factors. I don't want people just stumbling in there if they have to use the bathroom and being like, "Oh, what's going on here?" and just ruin it just because they want to.
Like what we had the other day at the RTB lounge when we had this drunk.
And that's just an open mic.
Yeah, that's an open mic. A drunk guy coming in, sitting on the stage, and just ruining one of the comic sets. And if that happened at, say, your special, holy shit, would your flow just be completely killed? This venue that you picked is very much anyone who's going to be there is going to be there for the show.
Exactly.
Anyone else that's there, they're going to be separated because this is the whole room that he's filming his special in is upstairs. Everybody else will be downstairs. So
hopefully they'll be.
Well, yeah, I mean,
upstairs for the show.
I mean, people that aren't there for the show will be downstairs, so you don't have to worry about walkouts. And like you said, one of the downsides about Brighton actually was that the front door was right next to the stage.
We would, but what I think we could have done in that case, I don't know if they would have went with this. Lock the front door, have the back door open because the back door is where the bathrooms are.
Right.
You could also come around the side of the building.
That's true.
We could have just put a sign that says, like, if you're coming for the show, use the side entrance, have arrows that go directly to it, go past that fence that's in the back. Could have made that work.
Right.
In hindsight, what could have been?
Well, with Brighton, one thing I was a little bit concerned with Brighton was just the lighting situation because they have very cool lighting, like bluish lighting, which doesn't really go well for comedy shows. You've been to...
Well, I would have utilized that.
You would have changed it?
Oh, yeah, for certain topics. I was going to tell Sean.
Oh, that's...
Let me be like, look, if I'm overly angry right now, make it red as hell.
That's interesting.
If I'm maybe waxing poetic about an embarrassing situation, maybe make a bluish hue.
Okay.
If I'm talking about maybe I don't know, a drug related
green,
something green, yeah. The drinking stories, green. Maybe like illness or something like that. Green, yellow, something like that. Okay. They have, we could have went with a lot of different ways. In this case, at Wild Social Club, one spotlight.
You know what? That's fine.
And that's fine.
Their spotlight is fine because with blue lighting, I remember you've done Greenwich Village, right?
Yes.
They have that hideous blue cool light on fucking. I
like that light.
They have wrong.
Maybe not for a whole show.
No, they have this blue light shining on a fucking room that's all red.
Yeah.
It fucking looks awful. Every time I see footage from it, I'm just so distracted.
It definitely hurts your eyesight after a few hours.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. And it completely. Blue lighting kills the show, but when you have blue clashing with red, who the fuck can even care about the comedy when your eyes are being assaulted by just pure ugliness? So I was gonna say, you've been doing stand-up for 8 years
just
now,
had an
right?
8-year anniversary.
You just hit the May 8th, right?
May 8th was the first day that I started doing comedy.
So this is 8 years of material that you're prepping for Otterly Ridiculous.
I called 8 years. Yeah, there was a lot of older jokes that I definitely wanted to put in the special just to be done with them. To not once I do them at this special, I'm going to probably forget that they're going in a hard drive.
So a lot of I'm sure you looked back at some stuff you did maybe like say 20, 2013, 2014. Was there anything you look back on, you're like, I can salvage this with my writing sensibilities today? Or you're like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I wrote a few punchlines to older jokes that basically had no punchlines.
Isn't that always the best when you revisit your old writing and you're like, what the fuck is this garbage?
That's why I say never delete anything that you type out. I mean, if you throw something away by accident, I guess we've all done that, like just writing stuff on like a napkin or, a check or something like that. Yeah, those are going to get lost. But yeah, if you take the time to write something, save it. If it doesn't work, you could always come back to it. There's stuff I was finding there's jokes that I wrote even before I did comedy from like 2007, 2008 that I was able to rework that. Yeah, and they weren't like overly good jokes, but I could come back to it and make it better now that I've been doing it this long.
Is it going to be weird to fucking retire almost 8 years worth of material?
No, because think of all the stuff that I've been writing in preparation. I've been working on this special for like from November of last year until
when you actually decided to film it, yeah.
Yes, yeah. When I had that concrete date set, I was like, I'm going to prepare for this entire time. I've been writing that entire time. I haven't gotten a chance to do probably 80% of the jokes in a regular way.
In an ideal circumstance.
In that 6-month window. All those jokes are going to be worked on after this special. Oh. So I have all that stuff and everything I've been writing the last few weeks that I haven't done anything with.
So, how much of this special is going to have impressions?
They're going to be in there.
They're going to be in there?
I don't know if I'm going to do all of them at once, like a impressions block.
Right.
Because that's like... I want to hit people out of nowhere rather than being like, oh, he's going to do impressions for 20 straight minutes, I'll pepper them in.
You're going to take
But on the album, I'm going to have everything by topic and the joke itself. So it's still going to say impressions, but it may not be in the time frame where I did the impression. Let's say I do an impression in the very beginning of the special. That might be towards the end of the album when it's released on streaming, physical. What you're going to record is the complete, unedited, full-length, everything as it is, nothing put in place, nothing cut out. That's going on YouTube in one big slab.
That's interesting that you're taking that approach where on one platform it's going to be a different structure.
Yeah.
Is there a particular reason you wanted to do it that way, or is it just so the live show doesn't suffer for maybe just one topic going the whole time?
Yeah. And also I want there to be I want people to be like to be able to see. It's like because you can manipulate a lot like with
audio
with audio and with time frame because I'll be honest, there's going to be some things that just will not work tomorrow. Probably, and they will be cut out of the album when it's released. But I want a record of that anyway. And that's what the YouTube video is for. And I have YouTube videos like that already where it's a big old sloppy video, but it's a record of what happened live, no frills, no shame, and no apologies.
I love how fucking honest you are, even with the bombings and the when things don't go well. You're always like, "Fuck it, it's going up anyway."
Oh no, that's what the private button's for. I've had to, and there will mark my words. When this special is released on YouTube, there's gonna be some other videos that I recorded during the pandemic that will be scrubbed.
It's gonna be interesting to see because I've known you for like what 6 years now.
Yeah. No, probably longer than that.
Longer.
I remember seeing you at the Stress Factory around the time I started doing comedy.
Yeah, I only have like a year on you, and what was it back then? Like your energy was so fucking palpable on stage because you never like. If you were bombing, you never, like, showed it, really. You were always like, if I'm bombing my way. Because fuck you. I took the drive.
Or I just never recorded it and then put it up.
Oh, yeah, but you always, like, you're one of the few people that, like, bombs with dignity whenever you bomb. You're like, I'm going down.
Did a few of those. I'm glad. That's another thing, too. I'm glad I'm getting some bombs out of the way before this special.
That's
because this is a time to do it. And then I'm thinking, like, oh, man, as somebody who's been doing comedy 8 years, it's like, why am I bombing?
Everyone bombs.
And not only that, people aren't really gonna, like, if they don't know me, they're not gonna care that much that I'm doing a special. They might think it's like, shouldn't this guy be better than this? He's been doing it 8 years. But it's like, I'm still trying to work on new stuff.
Well, yeah, everyone's trying to work on it.
As well as polish other things that I know I'm going to have to do for the special that have not really worked. I like the joke. And I want it to work, so I gotta work it out. But say if it bombs, I have to figure out how to work it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And what I was saying before, your energy back then was like, very high energy. And you're like one of the only people that when I see on stage, I'm like, it's just consistent the whole way through. Like, fucking, since I saw you back in the day till now, I'm like, no, he's still got the same amount of fucking energy up there. Like,
possibly more.
Probably more, because I look at old sets of me on stage, and I'm like, I've gotten so much more low energy. I'm not doing any more act outs, really. You just the whole time, you're like, I started this way, I'm fucking ending this way. How the fuck do you keep that energy up for fucking, 8 years? How do you keep that going? Or is that just, I mean...
A love of the craft and a love of the ritual of... It's a bunch of different things that factor into, like performing. It's and different people have different methods. Like some people like say, like do their act in a mirror. I don't think I've ever done that. Like if I try a joke out, it's not in front of a single person. It's not while I'm riding in a car with somebody. It's not in a mirror. It's not like if I'm gonna do it solo, not on stage, I'll mull it over my head in the shower or in the car to myself.
But do you still say it out loud though?
Normally, no.
No, interesting.
No, it's just all repetition in the head. Then I work it out live. That's why during the pandemic, when I was asked, it's like, have you done any Zoom mics? I tried to avoid them. Hey, God bless anybody that wanted to, sharpen their stuff up during. I can't work out comfortably to what
computer.
I'm I'm comfortable with, or what I feel as it's like I work the joke out. Yeah, and especially when they tell people to turn their mics off and whatnot. It's like, I need that live. I need even bombing. I need live bombing.
Exactly.
I need the live reaction.
And I've seen
of a crowd. It's like the microphone, you, a stool with the water on it, and an audience. To me, that's what is like. It's bare bones, but it's like that's the whole frame.
And you work so good with your energy, because I've seen you turn fucking audiences around at certain points where everyone's bombing and you just go up fucking high energy and you like 180 the show completely.
I think that's why a lot of people want me to go on first, and I'll say it, I'm gonna look right in the camera. I hate going on first anywhere. That's why I'm going on last tonight. Also, I'm doing like 20. Well, I'll try to do a half hour.
Most people hate going up first. I'm very hard pressed to think of anyone who likes going up first.
Think of how long like we have been doing. Like think of all the shows and mics where the first person totally murdered or annihilated.
I can't. There's like none.
It's not
because
that high.
That's what the MC is for. But there's so many times
there is a what do you call it, a responsibility on that person's shoulders to get the crowd on board already, so that there's not this like disconnect. As soon as it's like, okay, here's this first guy, you might like him,
right?
It's like you're already supposed to be. You're supposed to be amped up.
Yeah, that's the worst when you get a host who just says, all right, we're gonna start the show. I'm gonna bring up your first comic. It's like, what the. Dude,
and I can't lie and say like I did a great job every time I've hosted and gotten people like on board. I've pissed off audiences and it's like backfired on the first person I brought. So that's my fault on that first person.
I honestly think you're actually a really good host, because you're really good at because one thing you do a lot, which I kind of love, is like you kind of start off a little low energy, and then just the second you start getting into a topic you're passionate about, it just fucking shoots up like a rocket ship. And even when like it's like a quieter venue and you're fucking yelling and it's like, then they're not really on board yet. You don't fucking like back down. You just keep going, and then they just jump on ship with you half the time. Cause like, all right, if he's this passionate about fucking sauce right now, I guess I care about sauce too.
They hate me or they grow to love me.
No, I love that you keep that energy going. I remember a couple years ago we were on the Underground podcast, and you said you were one of your biggest influences was Dice, and I gotta be honest, I don't see a lot of Dice with you other than the Italian part.
I'm glad. I don't want to emulate that much to where it's like, oh yeah, you sound a lot like so and so.
The reason I bring it up is because we both know Otis Timlin from at the Bar 13 mic. he's big into dice, and you can tell because he has like a lot of the same mannerisms. But what you do, I'm like, I never look at you and go, oh, he's emulating dice. Did you start out when you were starting out? Did you emulate dice at all, like consciously, or did you?
And in earlier recordings, a lot. Yeah, there would be times where it wasn't ripping off his jokes, which I've seen live, and normally they don't work. It's voice inflections and mannerisms too. Like, it was all unconscious.
Yeah, because you would just absorb it in your head. I brought this up with Dweck on the last podcast where I did a set at the Eatontown Library, and it was, it's fucking barely anyone's there. It's a low turnout. Tom goes up.
Well, that's always how it's been.
Yeah, well, Tom Silver goes up, and he's low energy. So I went up, and I did, like, really high energy stuff, and then it hit me later. I'm like, holy shit, I was doing a tell. Because, like, I listened to Skanks for the Memories the week before, and then Captain Miserable, and I was like, these are fucking amazing. And then I just realized, I was doing that. Because David Tell's got those inflections they're so easy to spot when somebody's doing it. The strange way of talking.
Mitch Hedberg, another one.
And Mitch Hedberg's another one. Mark Norman right now.
Yeah, a lot of people have been sounded like a newer comedian. Definitely Mark Norman.
Yeah, and then I remember,
even though he's not like a newer comedian, but it's like people are more coming on board with Mark Norman now.
He's more popping up now, which is interesting. It's so weird when you hear about like, oh, Mark Norman, everyone's starting to know who he is. It's like, these are comedian, he's a comic who's been doing it for fucking 14 years, and it's like you're just hearing about him now? Because there's so many normal people that like what's it called? Sam Morril's I Got This special. So for a lot of people, that was their first time hearing about him.
Yeah.
And like,
but these people are getting on newer platforms.
Right, there's that too.
Like back in the day, I found out about David Tell through Insomniac. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's awesome. He's a comedian. He's got his own TV show. And both of them are hilarious. Because when I used to watch Seinfeld, I didn't really like Jerry Seinfeld's the stand-up back in the beginning. I'm like, I like the show. I like the chemistry between all these people.
Right.
I never thought his stand-up was bad. It's just I like the show so much more. With Insomniac, I'm like, both of these are great.
Well, the thing with Seinfeld is because a lot of what he was doing on stage was stuff that happened throughout the episode, so it almost felt like
it was nice that it tied in. Yeah.
Well, it was nice that it tied in, but it had the fucking unfortunate side effect of kind of spoiling the material.
Yeah.
Because when you get to the end and he's just talking about it almost feels like a recap of the episode, basically. Where it's like, all right, this feels a little it's not making me laugh. I can see why it's funny, but it's not doing it for me because you kind of spoiled the punchline the last 22 minutes. With Louis' show, when he was going on stage, like the subject matter was almost completely disconnected from what he was actually talking about. If anything, it just had the same theme, but like not as specific as Seinfeld. So, here's what I wanted to ask you, because I know you're also a big Eddie Murphy fan.
Oh, yeah.
So, what do you think about him coming back to stand-up? Do you feel like that would actually be well-received?
Yeah, but I'm nervous.
You're nervous.
I'm nervous because I think he left...
untouched.
A comedy, yeah. As far as comedy albums go, he had no bad stand-up, in my opinion. Of course, there's like lulls in the specials. But those are all Raw
and Delirious are great.
I can listen to those over, and I have over and over and over and over again, and I will until the end of my life probably.
Yeah, they don't age particularly well just because of the subject matter, but it's it was like the 80s, so of course he's gonna be saying things that you can't say.
I think to this day he may still have the record for highest grossing comedy, a special that was like a film.
Right.
Raw, I think still to this day, man.
More than Richard Pryor?
Grossing like ticket sales in movies? Yeah.
Well, Richard Pryor had the movie.
Richard Pryor had the first one with
Live at the Sunset, right?
No, even before that, it was just called Richard Pryor Live in Concert, and then that got put on album as Wanted.
Oh yeah,
which is my at this point favorite Richard Pryor album.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. See, I can't get into Richard Pryor as much just because he sounds so much like one of my ex's dads. The way they talk is exactly the same. So every time I hear Richard Pryor talk, I just feel like I'm being talked to by an ex-girlfriend's dad. I'm like,
was he funny?
What? No.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe ironically, I don't know, but
maybe you'll come around because Richard Pryor's very.
But do you think Eddie Murphy would be kind of like Chappelle right now, where he's like older, wiser, and has more like?
It's been so long since it's when he hosted SNL and that monologue, it wasn't bad. It wasn't up to. In my opinion, it wasn't up to snuff. However, you could just be getting the kinks out before you actually go and do an hour or an hour and a half
and
of
also
stand-up.
how much of that is the restrictions of just being on SNL?
Being on SNL, exactly.
Because there's certain things you can't do on SNL where, I mean, it's hard to say. Louis C.K. did that whole fucking bit, that whole monologue about why pedophilia must be really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know exactly what. But then Kevin Hart, didn't he get in trouble for? No, it was John Mulaney got in trouble. Yeah, John Mulaney got in trouble for saying there's no real difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. He got in trouble for that.
He got in trouble for that.
Yeah, because he just thinks they're, his argument was that they're just two old guys who don't give a fuck about anybody, really. So that was what he said. He's like, it doesn't make a difference. And he got his fucking ass chewed out on Twitter over that. Are you, do you feel like comedy's going to be a little bit more interesting now with a different president? Because everyone I talked to, they always said that Trump was going to be great for comedy. I was like, no, he was fucking terrible for comedy. Every fucking comic was doing the same fucking what's on his head? His orange skin. Oh, he's a racist. It was all the same shit.
You can make that argument for a lot of presidents that we've had, and right now, maybe because he's so new, I don't see a lot of people really like doing impressions of Joe Biden. They'll make fun of him and like criticize his job as a president.
Right.
But I don't know, maybe it's too early to call at this point. But yeah, I can't tell you how many hacky Trump impressions I've heard from people who aren't comedians. Like, that's how deep it went. But I gotta say, while Trump was president, were some of the greatest comedy years I've personally had.
Yeah, well, you go into that. What were the good ones? What were some of the good shows you had then during that time period?
The Cabaret Q show at the Brighton Bar. I'm trying to think of like videos that are available on my YouTube channel right now. I was doing stuff in Philadelphia on a lot of fun shows there, like Madeira, and I was going to Delaware pretty frequently. There's videos up multiple venues in Delaware. Meeting a lot of beautiful women. Has nothing to do with like sex. I met them at like where I was like performing.
I just wanted to flex real quick.
Yeah.
So what made those years good though? Was it just coincidental timing?
It was. Yeah, it really was. Like, and I think I may have written in the entire Donald Trump presidency possibly 5 Donald Trump jokes, and I don't remember doing any of them.
That's a good ratio. I mean, during the elections, we come up with some good shit because there's just everyone's so like hot and everything. But after,
and that's the thing. If I do political material, it's normally like a throwaway or like an off the cuff kind of thing, because it's so driven into the ground and it's such a divisive. Like, how many people do we know that have cut people off of in their lives because of political opinions?
Right, there's a decent amount, yeah.
Or on the lower end, you don't want to talk to them or associate with them anymore because that's all they spew out. Yeah, and they're miserable.
Yes, they absolutely are. Which is like, I was really into like Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart back, when Colbert was funny and Jon Stewart was still doing.
So 20 years ago.
I would say that was 10 years ago. But I was really into that, and their political humor was... I mean, Stephen Colbert's original political humor was just... He was a caricature of over-the-top Republican people, and he was saying outrageous things and kind of poking fun of conservatives, but it was done in like a loving, ironic way, where it never really felt like there was any venom behind what he was saying. And Jon Stewart, even more so. Jon Stewart was super good at like... taking the teeth out of his jokes, basically, where it's like he's still making strong, statements. You can definitely tell his leaning, but the joke itself is actually pretty neutral. I remember he had one about Sarah Palin, like where it was like people finishing each other's sentences at the end of the commercial, and then he was like, "Where have I seen that before?" And it cut to a commercial that's similar, where everyone's saying, "I have genital herpes." That was it. It wasn't like a statement about Sarah Palin's politics or anything. He was just making fun of her advertising. But he was on Chris Wallace. And Chris Wallace assumed that was a political statement, which is like, you're trying to make this material divisive when it wasn't intended to be. Like, that's the best kind of political humor, when it's not trying to separate people. But underneath Trump, it was like everything we could say would be perceived as divisive. And I didn't know what you said about Joe Biden, where it's like, is it too soon to tell? I don't know, but there's a lot of times where I see people do like impressions of Biden, and I'm like, I don't even feel like that's close. It's hard to get a feel of like that guy's impression. Like Trump, it was like so hacky with Biden. I'm like, what do you do for that? Just look tired?
I feel like I don't really see Joe Biden that much.
Right.
Since January, I can't. I don't know. I'm not actively looking too because
it's not interesting.
Well, but there's people like they're, like when you make a politician your hero, or you make a comedian your hero, or you make, like people like that your hero, you're going to be let down.
Oh yeah,
and you're going to be let down hard.
Yes, because people forget when you see people on TV and everything. That's you're seeing one side of them. And
you're going to disagree. You're going to eventually disagree. And you're going to disagree hard with a lot of people on certain subjects. And it's like, do you want to feel miserable because, like, I don't know, fucking Mark Norman doesn't feel the same way you do about the ecological issues or something? Like, really? Like...
There's not a lot of people right now that I feel like are doing good political humor, at least. I'm seeing Trevor Noah, and I'm like, I'm not feeling this at all. Colbert definitely is not doing any good political humor. It is just all the same shit. It's just not interesting. It's like, you used to be one of my favorite comics, and now I watch you, I'm like, I just don't care. Mm-hmm. Right now, I can't think of anyone doing good political humor. But what I'm seeing a lot now, I don't know if you've noticed, a lot of really good observational comedy, which I feel like during like the mid 2000s was kind of like dead.
Well, hopefully, I'm sure I have that in the special. I don't want the special to be like that dated. So I'm staying away from like joke topics that can, not age well. Yeah, because what if this is the only special I ever put out?
Yeah, and
I hope it's not.
I don't think it will be. But yeah, you wouldn't want that to be your only fucking legacies, like, oh, he did
his old Donald Trump jokes, and peppered in with some like George Bush Jr. impressions.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let me tell you about that Terry Schiavo case. See?
Yeah.
You don't want that. So what do you think are some?
Oh yeah, the Scott Peterson reference, but I'm thinking about leaving that. Even though he's got a new trial coming up, which I didn't even know about until that recently.
That's weird because like it always.
And this won't date well either. Well, I don't think it's gonna go in Scott Peterson's favor. You heard it here first.
I was gonna say, it's weird when you think of like a joke for like a certain subject matter, and it's like, is this dated now? I don't know. Like I remember I said I made a.
Well, I am doing a whole O.J. Simpson bit, but
there's a difference there.
This is an ongoing saga which involves
his Twitter,
social media, exactly, and. As of the date the special is going to be recorded, he's still on there, and I imagine he's going to stay on there, hopefully till the end of the year.
Right. Well, he's still, the thing with him is he's still in the public conscious, so people still think about him, but I remember...
Just under 1 million followers, I believe. Yeah. Still not verified.
But I remember one time outside the Stress Factor, I was talking to Dan Farley. I did make like an offhanded Terry Schiavo comment. He was like, huh, that's old school. And this was like 2014. I was like... oh shit, I guess it is old school. I'm like, so what's like the ratio when you can stop referencing something where it's not in the public mindset anymore?
I find, like, when I throw out references and it, like, especially on like younger crowds, I'm just like, I don't want to think I'm that old.
Yeah, right?
But a lot of, I have noticed too, a lot of people, they don't want to search the past and find,
why Scott Peterson's funny. Like, why?
Well, that, but I'm talking about like, movie references, music references, old comedy album references, old TV shows, things like that. Because a lot of this stuff, it was good then, and it's not only good now. Sometimes it's better, even better now.
Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's a lot worse. Like
sometimes it's definitely a lot worse. Like the swing revolution we were talking about.
Yes,
before the podcast.
Well, even go beyond that. Like so many of the remakes and the reboots of movies we see now. Most of them are worse.
Most are pretty. Yeah, most are. Well, one good thing though. If it's really bad, it makes you opine for even if the original wasn't really that great, it's infinitely great compared to the new one.
Right, that happened a lot with the Disney movies, the live action Disney remakes, which
they're not very loved as far as I know.
I saw, what was it, Beauty and the Beast in the theater, and I was like, this is awful.
They remade Aladdin.
Aladdin, which I did see that too. That was also not good. I saw that at a girl's house. That was also
Dumbo.
Why? I didn't see that one. I also saw Lion King, which was like.
That was like beat for beat from the original movie, right? It's just computer animation.
Anything they took out, they made it worse. And it was like, you call this a live action remake. They're fucking CGI
It's not live action.
This is just different animation. It's so, but to touch on what you said, it's right. You're right when you say that it keeps that in the public consciousness.
Yeah.
So that part is good, but what you have to sit through, it's just fucking, I feel like a lot of creativity is just like lacking in like the media now. Like our references to so many things are dated unless they're remade. But then when you check out the remakes, it's like, oh, this is shit. Like a lot of
I do like some remakes better than the originals. Like it can happen, but it's not it doesn't feel like it's the norm.
It really isn't. There's like a handful. The remake of The Man Who Knew Too Much by Alfred Hitchcock. The original was also directed by Alfred Hitchcock in the 20s. So it's
and you bring up a good point. A lot of people don't realize I have a book on the gangster film subgenre, and there were movies being remade less than 10 years, like during like the 30s and 40s and 50s. You would get a movie that came out in the mid 30s, they would remake it like 6 or 7 years later.
Yeah, well,
as the same movie, just different actors. It's the same movie.
Well, they don't.
So many gangster movies are like that, and I just had no idea because I haven't seen a ton of old gangster movies. But like a good what do you call it?
Remake?
Example. Yeah, a good example of a gangster remake. The original Scarface from the 30s and Scarface from the 1980s.
That's true.
They're basically a very similar story, totally different movies, totally different, and they capture their eras.
Well, that's
30s and the 80s.
That's what happens when you have a good director. I mean,
exactly.
You look at the remake of
and good lead actors.
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
You look at the remake of Psycho, where it's a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
Where it's the fucking most atrocious kind of remake, because it's not only is it pointless, everybody in the remake is so much fucking worse, and because it's shot for shot, you don't get a sense of an actual director's vision. It just feels like a product, so you're just watching a lesser version, and it just shows how much less talent was in the remake that you just get mad and you're like, what the fuck was the point of this? And then with the Disney ones, like they just like the same thing where they make it live action and then nothing else. It's like somehow these remakes with actual people have less interesting characters and emotions than animated cartoons.
And it's not like the new generation that sees these films they're not going to be beloved, I would imagine. Like the new Dumbo, I don't know if I know it's like I'm coming down hard on Dumbo, but like that's a movie like I was like why do it, you know?
Right.
Cuz are 3 to 7 year olds that see that movie, are they going to be like, "Oh, that was part of my childhood"?
Exactly.
Probably not.
And I know the Mulan one, everybody fucking hated that. China hated it more than anybody.
Yeah. And that movie, I mean, even though it came out in the 90s, it's not like
great.
Well, no, but it's not like in the grand scheme of things, it's not that old.
There's that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what you were saying about remaking gangster movies like 10 years after the fact, they're fucking doing reboots now instead of remakes. Like they fucking rebooted Spider-Man like 3 times within the last years.
Yeah.
They
do one sequel. They're like, no, we got to do a whole new series.
Oh, they fucking did. What was it? Spider-Man 3 was 2007, and then Spider-Man Homecoming was 2017. In between that, we had 2 other Andrew Garfield movies.
The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And then that animated Spider-Man movie, which I count as like in the Spider-Man timeline, I guess.
I consider that completely separate, but that movie's fucking amazing.
But it's a Spider-Man movie.
It is, but it's not.
We got to count the 70s Spider-Man movie, too.
No.
And that foreign Spider-Man movie.
Turkish Spider-Man?
This Turkish Spider-Man movie counts too. Yeah.
You ever see Turkish Star Wars?
I've seen clips of it.
So you've seen clips of Star Wars?
Yeah, pretty much.
See, I want a remake of that. With what was it? You saw what was it? The Disaster.
I saw Star Crash. That was some liberties were taken with that film.
Did you see what was it? The Disaster Artist?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
You haven't seen that yet?
No, and I love The Room.
I was about to say.
I saw The Room in Philadelphia at a movie theater, and Tommy Wiseau introduced the movie, as well as that that short he did. I think it was called Office Mates or something, or Neighbors.
Yeah,
it was like one. It was like one word.
I remember this.
They played that in the very beginning, and then they played The Room, and it was introduced by Tommy Wiseau, and he did like a signing before the thing. So it was like it was a cool total package kind of deal, and that's how much I like that movie, you know. But yeah, I still haven't seen A Disaster Artist.
That's crazy.
I've heard mixed things about it, but I won't say anything until I actually see it, because I'm sure I'll enjoy it.
It's decent. It's it's not amazing, but
I've seen James Franco's impression of him in clips and stuff. I'm like, wow, that is freaking dead on.
That's pretty. And I don't know how much you followed behind the scenes of The Room. The guy who Sandy Sclair, credited himself as the director of The Room, but he's more the director of Tommy Wiseau because he basically told Tommy what to do.
I thought Tommy Wiseau directed The Room.
Tommy Wiseau directed The Room, but Sandy Schklair directed Tommy Wiseau basically, where he was trying.
So he just basically just argued with him until Tommy made a decision on the final.
Well, Tommy had no idea what he was doing.
That's very true.
So he was basically trying to tell Tommy what to do.
Ah.
So he was basically the director of Tommy Wiseau.
So he was the guy begging him. He's like, "This movie does not need a $6 million budget. Please don't buy more camera equipment."
No, he didn't have. He was happy to. He was part of that crew, so he was happy for Tommy Wiseau to buy the film equipment. But he was like, "Why you built this this alleyway set? There's an alleyway outside of the lot and stuff like that." He was on a radio show, I think, like 12 years ago, trying to take credit for directing The Room, and it's like, why? Why are you trying to do that?
I just realized how long The Room's been out for.
2003.
2003. Yeah, but nobody knew about it when it came out. Like I remember randomly seeing that on Adult Swim.
Yes, that's how I saw it.
I think 3 or 4 years later, and being aggravated because whenever I used to see like live action stuff on primarily like cartoon things, like I can't even believe I couldn't stand like even though it was sort of animated, like Tom Goes to the Mayor. And when Tim and Eric came out, I'm like, what is this shit, man? Well, those are my favorite shows now. Like Dr. Steve Brule and Tim and Eric, they're my favorite comedy shows.
Well, that was back when Adult Swim was getting into anti-humor shit, where they were like it was very Andy.
Yeah, you'd want to watch Family Guy, and it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, well, that's the two extremes. You either have fucking animated reference humor like Family Guy and Robot Chicken, or anti-humor where it's like the whole point is that you're not supposed to laugh because we're stupid.
Or like I'm like, I don't want to feel bad watching this, but that's the fun in some of these.
Yeah, they would air The Room during April Fool's Day. I remember seeing it on there like
the whole movie.
Yeah, the whole movie. At like what, like 1 or 2 a.m.
It was
right?
very late at night when I saw it. Yeah,
a fucking commercial break comes on. It's like a Girls Gone Wild commercial. That's how fucking late it is.
Yeah,
and they're like, I get to watch Tommy Wiseau's ass thrust into a woman's belly button, and then I get to see a fucking woman taking her top off at Mardi Gras like 5 minutes later. But that's what I first saw. Like I think 2008, 2009, and I was like, what the fuck is this? But the guy Sandy Schklair, when he was trying to take credit for directing The Room, you know who Greg Sestero is, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was like, that's like trying to take credit for being in charge of the Hindenburg's aerodynamics. It's like not really something to be proud of. So what would you say are some of your favorite movies then? If The Room is not one of them.
Oh, did we breaking it down by genre or like movies that influenced me or?
You know what? Let's since you're into horror, I want to hear horror.
Like top horror movies?
Yeah, top horror movies. Let's hear them.
I got the picture. I took a picture of all my favorite horror movies. Let me see if I can remember them. Alien, probably.
Alien?
Alien's arguably that or The Thing.
Which thing? The remake?
No, I do like. I don't consider that a remake. Well, The Thing is a remake of
the John Carpenter's movie
of the Howard Hawks movie from the 50s,
right?
Which I still have never seen.
Yeah, really?
No, I've just seen. I should probably watch that this week at some point. Yeah.
I love how you.
But those again, it's like a movie that came out in the 50s and 80s, just like Scarface. Very similar, stories. People trapped in Antarctica, one lone monster, you don't know who you can trust, but executed completely differently. And one is 10 million times more violent than the other one.
I love that you before were like, yeah, well, the good thing about these remakes is that makes people check out the original. And you're like, I've never seen the original thing.
I have never seen the whole original Scarface either. So I should,
you've
all these originals I really gotta watch the whole movie.
You just fucking contradicted yourself.
I promise here, I will eventually watch both of those movies in their entirety. The Shining.
The Kubrick one?
Oh yeah, because it was a TV movie too. And I never saw that movie.
I don't like either of them. I actually didn't like the Kubrick one.
You know what I really liked? I saw recently Dr. Sleep. I did not think I was going to like that. Oh yeah, movie. That movie. Not only does it stand on its own, it really gives nice callbacks, and they're not forced to the shot. Like there's certain shots in that movie that I thought I was watching The Shining.
You know what? Psycho 2 did that when, they had the same, shot of, the water coming towards the camera in the shower. Yeah. So this did the same thing?
Yeah, but it had its own identity. And the director of that movie, Also directed a super low budget movie called Absentia that came out in the early 2010s. I think he made it for like a couple, like tens of thousands of dollars. It's one of the scariest movies I've seen in a long time.
The Shining is like
and he started off like with no money, and now he's like making like tens of millions of dollars sequel to, you know, a beloved horror movie.
Well, that's happening a lot right now too. They get these like these barely known directors, and they just give them like a major property to do something with.
He also directed that movie Oculus, which I liked.
Oh, I did hear that was actually pretty good.
The ending, I didn't feel like it wrapped it up as well as I wanted it to, but it was really scary.
Okay.
He's got like he's got a way to like creep you out that I really enjoy.
So you said Aliens before. How many of the Alien sequels do you think are any good?
I do like, I love Aliens, but I just recently watched Alien 3.
Oh, yeah?
I really want to check out the other cut of that movie, because I hated it when I saw it as a kid, because it just depressed.
A lot of people did.
It depressed me terribly, like when I saw it, because I was like, I don't want to see all these people die, you know, like, and it's like almost everybody died.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have watched it. I shouldn't have watched any of those movies when I was a kid.
Whatever.
But the thing was, it's like now that I see it as an adult, I appreciate it a lot more. I like the tone more now that it's so drastically different from the first two. I still don't, you know, in the grand scheme, I still don't like it, you know. But Alien Resurrection, I don't think I could even watch that movie anymore.
See, what I heard a lot of people say is that they liked Resurrection more than 3, but the thing, I heard this, where they're less mad at Resurrection because 3 pissed them off so much.
Yeah.
Below was softened for Resurrection, because Resurrection's shit.
I know, man, but when you compare tones of those movies...
That's true, yeah.
The tone is all wrong in Alien Resurrection. It's like...
It's the neighbors, don't worry.
It's not it should have been more serious, I guess.
Yeah. So have you checked out these later ones that Ridley Scott's been doing the last couple of years?
I love Prometheus.
Really?
I just watched that recently. Yeah. I was a little disappointed when I saw it the day it came out. And then I saw it again in the theaters, and I was like, okay, now I like it even more. And every time I watch that movie, I like it a little bit more.
A little bit more?
Yeah. That's an example of a movie. I think it's getting better with time. Alien Covenant.
I heard people did not like that one.
It's disappointing.
It's just, that was the last one, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
no. That man is
I hope whichever one comes out next.
Is he still going with it?
Well, I hope the tone is different, because I kind of like the fact that I think he was trying to make like a slasher movie and disguise it as an alien film.
Well, that's not that far off what it originally was.
Yeah, but Prometheus wasn't like that.
That's true. Yeah, that was more a little bit more psychological, more like
it was more science fiction.
Yeah.
Like it was more like a discovery kind of movie, and then like horror just like falls on it, like their heads towards like the end of the film.
That's kind of going back to the thing, like the John Carpenter thing, where at first it is kind of sciencey, and then it's like, oh no, now everyone's just fucking being mutilated and melted to death.
Exactly.
So. Ooh,
you know, it's an underrated horror movie
that's
in my top 10 that a lot of people, they know the actor, but they don't know that he was in this movie. Jeremy Renner as Jeffrey Dahmer in the movie Dahmer. It's in my top 10.
When did that come out?
2002.
Yeah, that's why.
They were making there was this production company that was making serial killer movies. They did Ted Bundy, Dahmer, Ed Gein, and I think Gacy and another serial killer were in that, you know, like time frame they were releasing those movies. They were like always in Blockbuster or what I'm dating, forget.
Whatever. I shot at Blockbuster too.
I found tons of movies just seeing them on shelves and reading the synopsis on the back. I'm like, let me give this a shot. And they were given like so many deals towards the dying days.
Yeah,
oh my god, you could rent like 10 movies sometimes for like the price of like
1 or 2, right?
Well, no. Well, yeah. Like in the early days of Blockbuster, yeah. So they're like, please rent all this shit. You know?
Dude. I remember being in Blockbuster
and keep it for over a week.
Yeah, the last couple of years, it was fucking. It was not. I kind of missed that feeling though too. It seemed like just back when you didn't have the internet to look up reviews, you just had to look at the fucking picture on the box, read the description, be like.
Or have a friend that loves those kinds of movies, and you could just ask them.
Exactly. I never seen this Dahmer movie though. I can't believe that because I like movies.
Jeremy
like
Renner as Jeffrey Dahmer.
That's an interesting casting decision.
It's really it's in my top 10 because number one, the tone of the movie is dead serious. It's it's atmospheric in a realistic way. So when it like shows him in his apartment, it feels like you're there because of what you hear and what you see and what the actions that he's doing. And like you could hear like the outside, like everything is like really realistically well done. And also the soundtrack to that movie is very haunting, and it's perfect for that film.
Is it like quiet?
Yeah, there's a lot of like low
strings,
and it's just depressing like throughout the entire film. It's very dark, but they made that movie for such little money, and you can't tell.
Well, I feel like
most of the time.
I feel like that makes it feel more like raw because he's a fucking murderer. It should feel raw and gritty.
Yeah, a movie like that, it's not on my top 10 because it's so freaking bleak. But Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, it's gut-wrenchingly raw because it pulls not one shred of a punch.
Yeah, I saw that one
Not
time.
even the first time I ever
ago.
saw it, I felt sick after I saw it.
Oh yeah, dude, that's when you know a piece of art is doing its job. I remember watching the one scene in Boys Don't Cry at the car.
I still haven't seen that.
Oh, it's
not a horror movie.
No, but
it doesn't make you feel good.
This scene was basically a horror movie. It's fucking rough. There's so many. I feel like Jordan Peele is like one of the only people right now that's doing something a little bit more experimental with horror right now because he's actually. His stuff is like almost Twilight Zone episode style, where it's more out there.
I've only seen Get Out, but I should check out more of his films.
Well, what a lot of horror movies that have been doing the last couple of years that I noticed is that they just do, besides the jump scares, which is always a thing. Well, you were talking about the music with that Jeffrey Dahmer movie. There's a lot of times where they just amplify the sound effect, and that's supposed to be scary, and it's like that's just cheap. Like you can use sound and music in a good way without being fucking like cheap like that. Like a good example is No Country for Old Men. There's like barely any music in that movie.
One of my favorite movies.
But one of mine too. And one of the quietest things in the movie is the fucking gunshots because he's just doing it silently and it still hits you so hard every time. You just hear that like puff of air and you're like freaking the fuck out like holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And that's all they had to do. And now it's like jump scare, loud noise.
Yeah.
Jordan Peele, he's actually like, the premises.
Speaking of Jordan Peele, he's not directing it, but I'm looking forward to the new Candyman.
I was going to ask you about that, actually.
Which, Candyman is my favorite horror movie from the 90s and definitely in my top 10.
Really?
Oh, yeah, man.
That one.
I love that movie, man.
That movie, actually,
that movie, there's definitely parts of it where they're like, yeah, I could tell this was filmed in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah, no, it's dated.
It really holds up. Like,
it does, and it's creepy. Like the fuck, I remember seeing
the reveal. You don't see him really until halfway through the movie.
I remember seeing that movie when I was like, I think I was like 10 or 11.
Yeah, that's a horror movie that a lot of people saw when they were like.
Oh, dude, yeah, because that was back when I think I had Comcast at the time, and it was like on demand.
Oh yeah,
and they had like their free movie of the week or whatever. So I was like, oh, what's Candyman? This sounds like a comedy. I'm thinking Caddyshack, Candyman, same thing. Boy, howdy, did I get a different movie. And that was one, I didn't get squeamish at many things when I was a kid, but watching that, I was like, what the fuck? Especially with when he rips open his coat in the one scene, the bees.
The real bees.
Yes, did you hear the story about that actor where he got
$1,000 for each sting? I read.
Yes, that's true. How many times didn't he get stung like 30 something?
He got stung a little bit. Yeah, they were like, I think they said they were like newborn bees so that they didn't hurt his mouth. I'm like, I don't want to get stung 30 times anyway.
He had him in his fucking mouth.
In his mouth, yeah, or crawling on his eyes and in his ears and like everywhere you can think of, he had bees on him.
That's a fucking...
In all the bad parts.
What is that guy's name?
Tony Todd.
Tony Todd? Okay. I feel like I should remember that name because that is a dedicated fucking actor.
I was very disappointed to read that it's like, oh, he's not going to be... He is in the I don't want to call it a remake. I think it's, I guess what you were saying, a reboot. Because it's supposed to be a sequel.
It's supposed to be a sequel.
There are original characters from Candyman 1992 that are in this movie.
That I did not know that. I don't know how to.
You know what? I'll just treat it as a sequel because the Candyman sequel, the sequels that are already out now,
yeah,
you really, that's the law of diminishing returns.
I mean, it's not as bad as a fucking Halloween franchise with those sequels.
But at least that's Halloween 2018. I think is the best horror sequel ever made. I may be in the minority on that, but what a freaking. What a turnaround.
I would say it's the best Halloween sequel, not sequel. I would put, honestly, Psycho 2 is up there. Psycho 2.
I've heard that.
It legit.
I still haven't seen Psycho 2.
Dude, oh my God, I'll give you my copy. It's legitimately
I've seen that
good.
movie Bates Motel. I don't recommend that movie.
The movie?
It was a made-for-TV movie where they were trying. It was a pilot to a failed TV series.
And then before the actual Bates Motel show.
It's not good.
No, it's not. I'm sure it's not. And then the Bates Motel show I hated. And Psycho 3 and 4, what the fuck? Meth where they Anthony Perkins.
Yeah, I remember Anthony Perkins directed the third one.
Yes, he did. It was terrible.
Yeah, I heard it was.
He directed it like a black comedy, but he played it like it was straight. Oh. So it did not mesh at all, and the story choices they did were so stupid. But what were you saying?
And the remake.
Yes, well, the remake too. But what you were saying about Candyman, when Jordan Peele was attached to that, I was like, oh, I am fucking into that because. I mean, you saw Get Out, and they get a little crazy towards the end. Mm-hmm. But Candyman just kind of lends itself to that town. Did you see the trailer for it with the puppets?
Yeah,
that was a great trailer because zero actual footage. They just fucking they told the story through cardboard puppets. And I'm like, hooked.
Yep.
Like that's all you had to do.
No pun intended.
I didn't even realize I did that. Mm-hmm. Shit.
Even though he's not in my. I don't know. I think Hellraiser at one point was in my top 10, but Clive Barker, he wrote, Candyman. It's based off the short story The Forbidden. And yeah, man, dude, Hellraiser.
The first one.
I like this. I like it. There's certain ones in that series that I do like. That's another really bad series.
I feel like a lot of the horror slasher series are pretty bad when you look at them like
as a whole.
Yeah.
The Howling series is embarrassing.
I don't know the Howling.
Why have I seen? I think all of the Howlings, including the remake, and I haven't seen Psycho 2. What's the matter with me?
That is a great question. What the fuck is the matter?
And those last two Howling movies were so freaking bad, man.
I've seen all the fucking Halloween movies, and it's a game of fucking. Pick where it fits with that whole series because you have Halloween 1 and 2, which are back to back. Okay, fine.
Shout out Dick Warlock, man. Because I'm doing that. I may never do the Dick Warlock bit again after tomorrow.
Dick Warlock?
Yeah, I'm doing it tonight too.
Oh boy. But then Halloween 3, which is a completely separate movie, and
from what I've seen they shouldn't have called it Halloween 3.
Well, maybe not, but. The original plan with Halloween 3 is that they wanted to turn Halloween into an anthology series. So
on paper, that's a good idea. At the time, that was not the right thing to do.
No, it could have. Here's the problem: Halloween 2. Because when you have back-to-back sequels,
right, and the numeral was already in the title. Yeah,
you fucked it up right there. You could have. I mean, if they did,
and then Halloween 4, they just kept it going.
Exactly, and Halloween 3 is honestly, it's okay. It's not that bad. Like people are expecting
Tom Atkins rules.
Yeah, it's honestly like a decent movie. It's just people wanted Michael Myers. And 4, 5, and 6, holy shit, they suck.
I like 4.
You like 4? He looks
doesn't make. Now look, how did Dr. Loomis survive that explosion? I don't know. How did Michael Myers live? I don't know. Why is nobody nervous when a burned Dr. Loomis comes to the town? It's like, no, he didn't die. No, and taking it all the way back to the first one. It's like, we don't believe you.
He was in an explosion in a police station. He has like the tiniest little burn on his face. Like, right. Yeah, I got a paper cut or whatever. And then Halloween 4, one thing I liked that I thought they were going to continue with was when Jamie killed her, what was her sister?
They gave up on that in under a year.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? You fucking...
1988, 1989 rolls around, Halloween 5's already out.
Yeah, I was like, yo, you fucking...
We forgot about that scene.
Yo, it was like when, in, Friday the 13th at what was it, the end of 4? Or no, it was
well, they killed him.
Well, no, what was the
fifth one?
Fifth one, I think. Was it 5?
Well, there were I think
one where Tommy was like the guy, right?
No, they thought he was. It was the dad of like
well, that's 5.
One of his kids got killed by accident, and not for nothing, it's a very hated movie.
It's terrible.
I like that movie.
Ironically,
for the wrong reasons. Exactly. And what they were trying to do with that movie was have a different Jason every movie, which would not have, and it didn't work. Because I think a year later, or maybe 86, fucking Jason Lives,
Part 6. Yeah. Which
and they got what's his name to come for first few scenes. The guy who played Tommy.
In the original?
Man.
Corey Haim?
No, Feldman.
Oh, yeah, different. I fucking mix up the Corys. But Friday the 13th 5, that ambulance guy, he wasn't Jason, but he had the highest body count out of any of the Friday the 13th.
Yeah, it was huge.
Dude, he killed more people than Jason did.
The whole house got killed.
The whole fucking movie was because a fat guy offered a wrong guy a fucking chocolate bar.
And if you weren't paying attention to that scene, the ending doesn't make sense.
Oh, yeah, because you're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, who is this? Yeah. The first time I saw it, I was like, yeah. What?
Exactly. You're like, who's that again?
Yeah.
It does not.
Because you think it is going to be Tommy.
Well, that would have been more interesting. I think in part 4 they left off where it was like Tommy could possibly be fucked up and be the next Jason, which would be an interesting idea because the first 3 Friday the 13th movies, they're Jason's story, but in like the loosest sense where they're like, this doesn't make any fucking... Like when part 2 is like, how is Jason an adult when he drowned in the lake?
He's a zombie.
No, he's not, because his mask comes off and they show his face. He's not a zombie.
No, in the first movie he's a zombie.
In the first movie,
as a child.
Yeah, but then in the second one, he's
a person.
He's a regular grown person with
a grown man.
Yes. With a hillbilly
with
face.
No seaweed on him.
With a hillbilly face and long hair, and then in 3 where he's wearing that fucking...
He's an even older man. He's a 40-year-old man in the third movie.
He looks completely different. And the third one takes place like what, a couple days later?
Maybe a day or 2 later. And he aged 10 years.
Yeah, apparently he got a haircut and everything.
Yeah, each movie he ages minimum 10 years.
That series is funny because Jason, like everyone associates Jason with the mask and everything, the hockey mask, but it takes till the third movie for him to look like Jason.
Also, he technically does die in the third movie. He gets an axe to the head.
Technically, yeah, but then in the fourth one, he's just back, and then it takes a fucking kid with a machete to beat him to death and stab him with his own.
Fall on the machete.
That was a good effect.
That was my favorite thing in the entire series.
The fucking, have you seen the raw cuts of the special effects they did for those movies? Mm-hmm. How all the shit that they cut out?
Yeah.
Dude, that sleeping bag kill was like probably the only legitimately good part of Jason X was when he completely just kept slamming that chick against the
and the cryo thing.
That too, but in the
I don't want to talk about that movie
Jason
too much,
X.
so that's...
You know what's interesting about...
I almost saw that when it came out, and I am so glad I didn't go to that.
What's interesting about Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street series is that at a certain point, they both had these movies where they just said, fuck it, let's try something different.
Yep.
One worked and one didn't. I really like New Nightmare. I really enjoy that movie. And then Jason Goes to Hell. What the fuck is that movie? Jason is actually a worm that transfers itself into each person. And that's canon because... At the end, Freddy's glove comes through the ground to set up for Freddy versus Jason.
That's my favorite part of that. When he exploded.
He explodes in the beginning, too.
It's very dumb, but what are you going to do?
Well, when you watch that, you're like, this could be the ending to any actual Friday the 13th movie, and you put it in the beginning. That's weird, but that's what they went with. And then Jason X was like so completely disconnected from all the other ones. I feel like at the late 90s, they were just throwing shit at the screen and saying whatever.
It's the tone. The tone is what really makes me not like these movies.
Well, why? Because they're kind of like black comedies, or they're tongue-in-cheek almost?
Yeah, I don't like... I mean, if it's going to be... like the early Friday the 13th movies, there's a lot of corny stuff in that.
Oh,
and it's unintentionally funny, but they're not made to be like, oh yeah... Like, the filmmakers aren't like, these movies are stupid. We're just going to treat them like trash, you know?
Well, you can do that, but you gotta not... It has to feel like you're not talking down to the audience, where it feels like you're just insulting my...
And also, the gore scenes are lessened because the tone is like, off.
Right, which is... That always hurts. Like, a movie I love is, like, Hot Fuzz, which is a lighthearted comedy, but the gore in that... way better than half the Friday the 13th movies.
I still haven't seen it, but my mom recommended me that movie.
Oh, dude, the gore in that movie is amazing, and it's like, that's a comedy.
We really figure that movie out.
But, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, it's gorier than Shaun of the Dead.
Your audience might really not like this, but Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Overrated.
Really?
I never liked that movie.
Oh, interesting. Well,
I didn't like it when I first saw it. I didn't like it when I saw it a few years later, and I haven't seen it since then.
What was it about it that you didn't gravitate towards? Because I really love that movie.
I just didn't find it funny.
You just didn't find it funny?
Or scary.
Well, yeah, the scary I get, but you just didn't find it funny.
I think it was I was like deep. Maybe I was on a zombie movie kick, and seeing that, I guess it just didn't make sense to me. Like when I was watching, like movies like Lucio Fulci's Zombie or Dawn of the Dead remake came out like the same year.
Yes, it did actually. Yeah, 2000. They're both 2000. No, Dawn of the Dead remake was 2004. Shaun of the Dead was 2005.
Oh, it was very close. Yeah, very close.
Right. I actually thought when I was a kid, I thought Shaun of the Dead was a parody of Dawn of the Dead because that's back when the fucking I think the Farley brothers were doing parody movies and Scary Movie and fucking Meet the Spartans and all that kind of shit was coming out. So I just thought Shaun of the Dead was one of those.
And a year or two before that was 28 Days Later, which was so drastically different from most zombie movies. And it was just like relentlessly like nerve-wracking. And that was what I wanted to watch. I didn't want to really see like a parody. You know what I mean?
So you're not like super into horror comedy?
Not really.
Not really.
Only a few. I love Reanimator. Evil Dead.
Evil Dead. Okay, that makes sense.
Name some other ones because I can't. It's getting thin.
Leprechaun.
I've never seen any of them.
Really?
Never. No. I saw a retrospective of Leprechaun in the Hood, which I was like, this movie looks all right.
Those movies were tongue-in-cheek horror comedies.
They're not really meant to be scary.
What about Bride of Chucky or Seed of Chucky? Because those are horror comedies.
I've only seen the first Child's Play.
Really?
Yeah, I've never seen any of the other ones.
I would recommend Child's Play too because that one.
I heard that's one of the better ones. I think it's better than the first one.
I like it more because the first one they play it like a straight horror movie. Yeah. And with a premise like a killer doll who. It could be scary if it's something like Poltergeist or something, but when it's a wisecracking, fuck saying...
Brad Dourif.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, half the movie he's, like, not talking, and then the other half he's, like, being sarcastic and shitty. So, it doesn't really work scary. Mm-hmm. The sequel, they don't try to make it legitimately scary. It's just a slasher movie with a sarcastic asshole the whole time. Mm-hmm. I really like it. It's so fucking stupid. There's a scene where Chucky beats a teacher to death with a wooden ruler.
Oh yeah,
they have like a low angle shot of Chucky walking towards the camera holding a wooden ruler.
Yeah, there's a gif or a meme of that. Yeah.
Oh, is there? But yeah, the woman's like The woman's fine. I think he like hit her in the leg with something, but she's like crawling.
Gotta build up that suspense.
Yeah, exactly. So whether it's like ironically funny or not, it's a funny horror comedy. So I would recommend that one.
I guess. It scared me when I first saw it. American Werewolf in London. There's a lot of comedic elements in
there. Yeah, that's what I saw that one time on TV, and I was so perplexed watching that. I was like, I don't know how to feel watching this movie.
Some scenes, they're viscerally like straight up horror. Other scenes are like, this is goofy.
It hurts when the goofy either overshadows the horror or it just does not blend at all.
It's hard. That's probably why I don't like so many horror comedies,
because if you're going horror, I know you're a huge horror guy, so you're like, when you want horror, you want like you want to feel something, and it's
because there's even funny parts in Alien.
Yes,
but that movie is like, it's not supposed to be funny.
Well, because the humor has to come from the characters and like the interactions. It
also disarms you because when they're all like joking around having that last meal together. Man, seeing that as a kid, that broke me, man.
Yeah, because the humor should come from like you feeling like you're with the characters and enjoying them, and you're supposed to be sad when they die. Yeah. With a lot of, especially the Friday the 13th series, I feel like I'm looking at the menu before the dinner.
Yep. There were a lot of people I was like, I can't wait till this character is dead.
Yeah, exactly. That's that too. A lot of the later 80s and 90s horror movies, they just wrote characters to be killed.
Jason X, I couldn't wait for Jason to be out of there.
I couldn't wait for that movie to end when I first saw it, and then I kind of ironically enjoy it because it's just like, this is the dumbest fucking shit. But like I said before, New Nightmare, that's a good one. You've never seen that one?
Not the whole thing.
That one is good. I would recommend that. And they don't play that.
Well, they tried something very different, and I commend them for that.
Oh yeah, and they see the Nightmare on Elm Street series. They have comedic elements in them.
On almost all of them, yeah.
Yeah, well, the first one had like a little bit more subtle. I think the sequels, as they went on, they just got more ridiculous. Number 3 was the Dream Master, right?
Dream Warriors.
I think that's when I was like...
Shout out Dokken.
I think that's when they were like, okay, fuck it. Freddy's gonna turn you into paper and cut you up now, because that's just what we're doing. That series, they got goofier and goofier to the point where like, I don't even know what I'm watching anymore.
Are there any other like good horror comedies?
Good horror well, Get Out had some comedy in it, but like you were saying,
I would not consider that a horror.
Yeah, like you were saying, it comes from the characters.
A horror comedy, both genres together,
where they hit a perfect balance.
Yeah.
I would say
Bride or Reanimator.
I would say Shaun of the Dead, but I know you disagree with that. Mm-hmm. Maybe Happy Death Day to You.
Never saw it.
Zombieland.
I never saw it.
But see, this is hard because you don't watch horror comedy, so you don't know. Zombieland is like Shaun of the Dead, but with less clever writing. It's okay. Bride of Chucky.
No, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's right. You didn't. Oh man. Yeah, this is wow. Damn, I guess there's not a lot. It's hard to pull off.
It's hard.
You have to be able to treat both elements seriously. I feel like the Coen brothers would be really good at horror comedy if they decided to go into that territory.
Yeah,
I feel like they could pull that off. They're really good directors.
Their first movie, Blood Simple, has lots of horror elements in it. I was very surprised when I saw that and how good it is.
Oh, here's a guy who could do fucking horror comedy. Uwe Ball, come on. Director of Blood Rain.
No, wait. There are now. I do like a few Uwe Boll movies, but I wouldn't consider them horror comedies. Like they're straight up like disturbing films.
I mean, Alone in the Dark is really disturbing.
That's the worst movie I've. That might be for a while. That was the worst movie I've ever seen. That's the worst horror movie I think I've ever seen.
That's the worst horror. What would you consider the worst movie you've ever seen?
I
got a couple.
Well, I'll say Lady in the Water is the worst movie.
That's one of them.
The worst movie I've ever seen in a movie theater.
Oh,
so
God.
You know what? We'll go with that.
Dude, I remember first seeing that. I was like, what the fuck
and that's the only movie where I was literally on the edge of my seat. Not that I was in suspense. I wanted to I'm like, should I go? I only paid $4 because it was a matinee show.
That's the best time to see it.
And I'm like, you know what? Let me just torture myself. I'm only out $4.
Dude, Shyamalan is one of those guys who's like, he accidentally made a good first movie, and then...
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable, that's it.
I love that movie, too.
People are a little bit more divided on Unbreakable, but I think it's good. And then, what was after Unbreakable? The Village? No, Signs.
Signs,
right?
it doesn't hold up as well. I still think it's good until the end.
Exactly. It's good until the ending when you find out they're fucking aliens that invaded a planet full of water when their weakness is water.
Yeah. Also, one of the best movie theater memories I've ever. It's so weird. Like he at the worst and the best. I saw that movie when it came out in a huge movie theater, no seats open, like whole thing opening day. I was there with my brother. And there was a row of friends, and then in front of them was their other row of friends. And you know the scene where the alien puts its hand underneath the freaking thing? Or, I'm trying to remember... It was when the girl was near the grate and the alien grabbed her shoulder.
Yeah, okay.
A guy in the back row, Hook grabbed a girl in the front. She screamed and ran out of the movie theater screaming. I'll never forget that as long as I live, man. That whole theater went crazy.
He was good at building suspense back in the day, but I think his problem is that he's really, you can tell he's really into like Hitchcock and Kubrick, but he doesn't really know why they did the things they did, like the long shots and the holding on like a certain gesture. Mm-hmm. Like Hitchcock and Kubrick use those at very specific points, like in North by Northwest when Cary Grant and that girl are walking on the Mount Rushmore, and it holds on the guy like about to jump on Cary Grant. It's supposed to build suspense, like, you know it's going to happen. I think Alfred Hitchcock had this quote where it's like, suspense is when two guys are talking at a table, but the audience knows there's a bomb under it. Which, a very good way to sum up how to build suspense. Shyamalan has no idea how to do it, so he just kind of ripped them off in the beginning, and it's at the point where he just does things because they did it without understanding why. Like in Signs, when Mel Gibson is sitting at or is it Joaquin? I don't remember who. The fucking with the cop, where they're sitting at the table and they're just like eating breakfast. It's got that long, slow tracking shot to the other person. It's like, why are you filming it that way? It's so creepy. Like it's supposed to be a pleasant moment, and you're making it fucking uncomfortable. Like she took like a literal 10-second pause between the question being asked to actually have a returning statement. He just did it because other people did it. And Lady in the Water, Jesus Christ. I want to know what he was on when he directed them. Narf? Their names
Narcissism?
Narcissism. He named the fucking. She's part of the Narc.
He's also
race.
one of the main characters in the movie too.
Paul. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh God, that was so stupid. That subtle jab at critics.
Well, I mean, there's no likable characters in the movie either. Not one.
Well, Shyamalan, his favorite thing to do is to suck the likability out of any actor he casts. I think Samuel L. Jackson's one of the only people who retain their likability because...
I like Bruce Willis.
Okay, you got to keep... Bruce Willis's acting style fits, though. That's the thing. It fits. And Samuel L. Jackson, he's, playing himself, but a little bit more reserved, which he can pull off. But, like, Mark Wahlberg in The Happening...
I never saw that movie.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Fucking Paul Giamatti in Lady in the Water, he was terrible.
Yeah, I didn't like Paul for a while.
That fucking scene where he's like trying to... What are they trying to convince, like, the
nymph to escape the narf. I was like, not only do I not like these people, I hate the words that they're using.
Yeah, and
everything bad.
The kid reading the fortune on, like, the cereal boxes or whatever, the cupboard, I was like, what the fuck?
The fact that it just took place, it was like... In an apartment complex the entire time. I'm like, oh great! It's like what a great place to get stuck in for an entire movie.
That was his thing. I think around that time he became known as the twist guy, and all the twists were like ruining the movies at the time.
There was a twist at the end of that movie.
The twist was that it was really bad.
There was no wrap. There was no wrap up or
The Village. I remember the twist for that movie.
The twist was I stayed in my seat and didn't care that I lost $4.
The twist was, what was it? The Village. I remember so many people said that just completely killed the movie for them. And then what was after Lady? I think after Lady in the Water was, maybe it might have been The Happening. And then
it was The Happening.
Yeah, The Happening. And then he did Last Airbender, which was an adaptation of a super beloved animated series. And dude, the entire movie is an hour and a half recap of the show. The first season of the show. Right. He condensed 20 episodes of an animated series into an hour and a half movie. You couldn't even bother to stretch it to 2.5.
But it worked though, right?
No, it was terrible. Dude, it is
that.
Literally people... First of all, he got half the characters' names wrong. Like, there's a character named Aang. The whole movie, they call him Ong. You're not even close. The characters are based... the characters are based on Asian culture.
Yeah.
They're played by Indians and white people. Oh. Which is like... wrong. There's a character who's a comic relief character. He's the most serious character in the actual movie. Oh. And they just recap the show. The whole movie is characters stating their roles in the story. Mm-hmm. There's literally a scene where one of the villains, he calls over a kid and says, "Come here, boy. Tell me what you know about the prince." He is the prince, by the way. Mm. And the kid just says his backstory to him. There's no reason for it. It is just a recap of the guy's backstory to himself. And then I think... after that fucking tanked was what? Fucking Devil, I think?
Yeah, he didn't direct that though, he wrote it. And it was bad. It was bad one way or the other.
It felt like he directed it though.
Yeah, it had his touch.
Yeah, and then
maybe Ghost directed it and just
it felt like
nobody's the wiser.
It felt like such a Shyamalan movie.
But all these movies made, I mean, I don't know about The Last Airbender, but most of his movies made huge money or more than way more than they thought, and then keep it going.
He's like it's kind of like the inverse of the Wachowskis, who constantly make just terrible movie after terrible movie now, but they don't make their money back. But like, to their credit, they're creative with their shit. Their shit is weird.
They got The Matrix. You can ride that forever.
It's the same thing with Shyamalan. He made The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. You make good movies in the beginning of your career. Apparently, you can just keep coasting off of that.
He has a few good later era movies that I did.
I heard, what was it? The Visit was
it was way, way better than I thought it would, and made for nearly no money, made a shitload of money, and another movie not made for a huge budget was Split.
Split, I heard.
And that movie made like a million times its budget back.
Because here's the thing.
And then Glass came out, and I was really excited for that, and it disappointed the shit out of me.
Well, here's the thing with Split. It was a sequel to Unbreakable, right?
A very loose one, but still a sequel, yes.
Well, that's why, because it was attached to something that people were like, we can go back to that Shyamalan. The Visit, when I remember seeing the trailer for that, I was like, this looks like a horror comedy. But no,
it's pretty serious, yeah. It has funny parts in it. Also, getting back to, I've thought of another horror comedy. Dog Soldiers.
Okay.
Neil Marshall's first film, I believe. Yeah, really good.
I've never seen that one. Okay,
it's great. It's one of the best werewolf movies.
What the fuck is Dog Soldiers? What is that?
It's a group of special... I think they're like special forces in Ireland, and they're doing training exercises, and they find a like a convent of werewolves. They like accidentally like stumble upon them, and the werewolves like attack them, and they hole up in this farmhouse, and like the werewolves like besiege them. So they have to band together to fight off the werewolves. It's like soldiers versus werewolves.
That is interesting.
It's really cool, and the special effects are awesome.
Oh wait, here's another horror comedy. What about maybe it's a horror comedy? Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I like that. Yeah, I guess technically it is a horror comedy.
Yeah.
Just scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, but now I watch it now. I'm like, oh, these costumes are awesome.
Yeah, well,
but
yeah.
I'm like, it's not a tremendously great movie.
It's not.
It's very inventive. It's inspiring to see like what they did with such a limited budget, and they made it look like a movie that cost like 10 times what they actually paid for.
I love when you look back on one genre of movie and it doesn't hold up as much, and then you look back on a different genre and you're like, what the fuck? This is more terrifying than the horror movie. Like, you've seen Return to Oz, right?
It's why is it scary?
The fucking
why those things on bicycle like they're on like roller skates.
They're terrifying until they start talking. I'll give you that.
But why? Why did they make that movie?
I really like that movie. It's fucking bizarre and trippy. It's a dark and fucked up sequel to Wizard of Oz. What's not to love about it?
I don't know.
You just didn't like it?
Again, getting back to tone.
Oh, okay. Well, that was back.
I remember my dad said that when he saw Wizard of Oz when he was a kid, he said that the Wicked Witch of the West terrified him. I'm like, why?
Wow, really?
But think about it. When my dad is a kid, what was scaring kids then versus what's scared? The freaking facehugger and the xenomorph scared the shit. I remember pushing my bed against the wall because I saw like when I didn't want the facehugger to come up the space between my bed and the wall, so I pushed my bed against the thing. I'm like, this is just like kid logic, but I'm like, it affected me that much. I check my bed like every night.
What would you think is like the best horror movie you've seen like the past year or so? Because I
probably Halloween's up there. Halloween 2018. Hereditary.
I heard that was good.
And I just saw this like a day or two before Christmas. It's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. The Dark and the Wicked.
I never heard of that.
The same director as The Strangers, a movie called The Monster, and he directed another movie. It's also very scary. The name escapes me right now.
The Monster, not the Charlize Theron one, right?
Not that one. No.
Okay, yeah.
No.
I saw The Strangers and I could not stand that movie. But
I watched it recently and I like that movie a lot. The lapses of logic are I just forgive each one.
That's what drove me crazy about it.
No, but when they get in the house and start talking to the people, that's like unnerving.
Yeah, that part's creepy, but it's everything before that I'm just like, this feels like nothing.
But then I'm like, these things have to happen for there to be a movie. Yeah. At that length, too. You could have had a very scary 20-minute short with realistic, like, logic. The movie's an hour and 27 minutes long, so, yeah, you need an hour of non-logical things.
Well, you could take time to develop that couple, though. I didn't really give a shit about the couple.
Yeah, in the beginning, not very likable.
No, they just hang out and kind of just argue.
Well, spoiler alert, if you don't like the guy... Actually, it's kind of ambiguous at the end. She's not dead, but she's pretty messed up at the end.
What's it called? That movie, I remember they killed Glenn Howard in at one point. I was like...
Oh, yeah, if you don't like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a bonus in The Strangers.
Okay, if you don't like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, fuck you, you're wrong. It shows me.
That is true, too.
Have you been keeping up with that show, actually?
No.
No? Oh, my God.
I was so deep for 7 seasons.
7 seasons?
Yeah.
So you
maybe more than that.
I
had like the DVD sets, and I guess I just got burnt out. Like I can only, I don't know, dude. I like fucking the Friday the 13th series.
That's true. Yeah.
I used to have most of them on DVD.
And now you're I'm exhausted.
It's exhausting, man.
No, that is true.
And then Leprechaun, I did like there's certain series I don't even get involved with.
That makes sense. So what's the last episode?
The Howling, I think, broke me as far as like trying to keep up with series because it's just so poor,
How many movies are that?
The Howling?
Yeah,
I think 8, maybe more.
Dude, what the fuck? 8?
8. Yeah, and I think they're making another one.
I mean, well, fucking, how many Halloween movies are there?
Including the Rob Zombie ones are...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about those. There's the 6.
Wait. There's 6. There's H2O. There's Resurrection. There's 2 Rob Zombies. 2018. And then there's 2 more coming out.
That's fucking 13 movies.
Yeah. And I will see all of them.
How do you not get...
I've seen everything up until... I've seen everything. 2018. Now I have to see these new 2.
How did you not get burnt out on the Halloween franchise?
I guess I just like Michael Myers that much.
Wow, that's...
And not only that, the really bad Halloween movies are not as bad as the really bad Howling movies.
I guess there's that. I had no idea Howling went on for 8 movies. Oh.
There is arguably one half good Howling sequel.
Half good.
Half good.
Oh my god.
Howling 3, I guess you could say it's a horror comedy.
Oh man.
And I kind of like that movie.
Oh fuck. Oh. I'll have to check out the Howling series. I've actually never seen it.
Tread lightly on that series.
Tread lightly?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Oh, dude, Howling 6 and 7 are... I don't want to talk about it.
All right, well, here's what we can talk about.
And the remake is god-awful. I fell asleep watching that movie.
Well, we touched on remakes before. But here's what we can talk about is Otterly Ridiculous, because we're coming up on the end now. Because it is getting to the point where we actually have a mic to go to.
Boy, we just went down a big rabbit hole of really shitty sequels.
No, that's I fucking love it because I didn't want this to be just exclusively about comedy, because how many times can people listen to episodes about comedy before they get bored?
Also, the Howling, or not as well known, but everybody knows Friday the 13th. Not everybody knows who Joe List is, but I'll do that impression again.
God,
I don't care. That impression may be more hated than Halloween 6 or fucking Howling 6, but I'm gonna...
Oh my god, for those who don't know,
I'll do that in front of Joe List. I'll take it that
last
far.
week, he did a fucking Joe List impression at the Nip and Tuck Diner. And it was
RTB.
Oh, that's right, you did it at RTB. The most inaccurate fucking Joe List.
I was watching clips of Joe List yesterday. My impression, not the most spot on, but
not even
pretty faithful to the mask.
No. I think everybody was like, do you even know what Joe List sounds like?
And I do.
Oh, now, okay, well, that makes it even less forgivable.
I can't tell you one bit he does, but I'll do Joe List.
Do Mark Norman tonight. That would be more fun.
I would rather. I don't have the track jacket for it. I left it at home.
All right, so Utterly Ridiculous. This podcast is going to come out the day that special is going to be filmed. So this is going
tomorrow.
Tomorrow. I'm going to have this fucking up because I can't wait to see you fucking do this special. I've been waiting years for you to film something, damn it, because it's fun. Like I said before, I've known you for fucking 6 years?
More than that.
Six something years. So to see you go from the open mic we used to run in South Amboy to an actual
dark days, man.
But to see you go from that to an actual special, I am excited as fuck. I am proud of you for doing this.
That actually has some production behind it too.
Exactly.
I was thinking, I'm like, am I gonna be able to put some oomph into it, not just have it filmed on my iPhone?
Well, you have everyone supporting you because despite the fact that you're a very volatile person, you're also a very, very nice person, and everybody loves you except for
don't
certain
ever call
people.
me a nice guy though. I don't want to ever be known as that.
Except for certain people that you have ruffled their feathers with your certain materials. I'm not going to talk about any Joe List impressions in particular.
Yeah, Joe List aside, my actual material. Yeah. It's definitely not for everybody. This special is going to be hated by certain people that we know.
Well, then they're wrong, because I can't wait to fucking see this special. I'm gonna be...
People are allowed to have their opinions. Think of how many comedians we know. We don't like their acts, but we like them.
Well, plenty of that.
And on the opposite end, there are comedians that I'm just like, how are they people? And then they get on stage, and I'm like, this is hilarious.
Yeah, man. We definitely know a couple of guys like that. But all right, I think that's gonna be it for this episode of the Pixel Trash Podcast. Thank you.
We're getting hot water.
Yes, that's why we're ending it. It has nothing to do with the mic we got to be at. But all right, well, thank you for coming on here, Daniel Caprio.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, Utterly Ridiculous. I'm going to plug the shit out of it when it's out. There's going to be a clip posted of it on this channel, directing all you fuckers to his channel. So check that out when it comes out.
And one more thing, when it does come out, I probably will put it on YouTube first, the very first thing, because there's gonna be no real editing. Maybe putting like a title card or something. Very, very, very limited. So that'll probably go first. Then on streaming platforms. Then the physical. Then T-shirts. Then vinyl. I guess maybe when I watch this video on your YouTube channel in a year or two. I'll be like, why haven't I put the fucking vinyl out yet?
Are you gonna put on a fucking mixtape too? You gonna put on a cassette?
It's gonna be available on 3 cassettes.
You can find tracks 1 through 3.
One-sided cassettes.
You can find tracks 1 through 3 on Daniel Caprio's MySpace page.
I should reboot my MySpace page for Otterly Ridiculous.
And you can send him all your feedback through his Destiny account. Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, that was the instant messaging service before AIM.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You could have put a gun to my head, and I don't know what that is.
All right, but that's it for this episode. We're going to head to an open mic now, so thank you again for being here. Utterly Ridiculous, check it out. And that's it for this episode, so take care.